Alright, we're going to change this doorknob. It's kind of fancy, kind of old. You can see it shuts pretty easy, but we're going to put a new doorknob on anyways. A couple things you're going to need. Multi-screwdriver makes it easy. And an Allen key. So you've got the outside and the inside. We're going to start on the inside because it makes it easier to get off. All these are a little different, but they're pretty similar once you get going. Allen key. Going to use that to slide off the doorknob. And this is where you want to be careful because you can tear up the door if they're real cheap like mine. So you can attack this by using a screwdriver around the outside of that little holder, or you can put it on the inside. It's easier on the inside because then you can just pop it off. Once you do that, you're going to take your screwdriver, and there should be 2 screws on the inside. Like I said, each one's a little different, but they're all pretty similar. 2 screws going through the door latch. Get those out. You'll be ready to go. Make sure you hold it so you don't drop it on the floor, because sometimes they fall out. Slide it off. You're good to slide the other side off. Sometimes you gotta push it in so it'll slide out to release it. Then you gotta take the door latch off. And to do that, there's a couple screws you're gonna hit. Back those out, and you should be good to go. When you put the new one in, make sure that your latch is facing the right way so that it'll push against the door. If you put it backwards, it's going to make it real hard to close. People will be yanking on it, pushing on it, and it won't shut behind you. So that is why it's slanted like that. Put your screws in, you'll be good to go. Grab your new doorknobs, door handles. Now make sure you're facing these the right way. And a tip I will give you is to make sure that you get the privacy emergency unlock on the outside of the door, not the inside. Also, we are putting on square handles, but I prefer round handles because it seems like no matter how hard you try, even putting a level up there, eventually your square doorknobs end up being unlevel on your door, and it drives me crazy. When you do this, I like to put my screws in a little bit light because you don't want to just tighten it all the way down, or else you may have to back them out to get your door latch exactly where you want it. So put them in, make sure it holds it in there, then you can adjust as necessary. Another tip I'll give you is if the door is really hard to turn and it's sticking and not very smooth and free, make sure that you are sliding your doorknob all the way, well, in this case, to the left, to the inside of the door, not the outside. Because sometimes if it's slid towards the outside, it's like there's not enough free space for it, and it'll bind up, and then it makes the doorknob really hard to turn, and it sticks, and it won't close, and it's just a mess. Don't be afraid to do it a few times. Here's the easy part. You're going to take this off. It's just a couple screws. Now, I will say that sometimes these will not fit exactly the same when you change them out, so be ready to spend a little time, and you'll see that I kind of have to start chiseling away at my door frame because it will not set in there properly. It's okay to do that, but Just do a very little bit at a time because you don't want a hole that is too big. Now, if it's not shutting at all, once you put the new one on and it's binding up, you may have to chisel out the area there. You can see where the imprint is. You may have to make it a little more flush so it'll close. Make sure you put the keeper out so that the door once again will close behind you. If you put it the other way, it's just going to bind up and not fit correctly. You can see mine was hitting because the new hardware was a little bit different than what I had. So I had to make sure and adjust mine a little. I had to get it to set down a little more smooth so it would close freely. This is where I'm talking about you might have to do a little work. You can see I just took my flat screwdriver, pushed out a couple little pieces in there just to give it a little more space so that it would close easier and more freely. It's okay, but do a little bit at a time, because if you do too much, you'll have this huge hole and then you start tearing out where the screws holes are. And if it's really binding up, you may have to trim that out. You can see where I'm pointing there. You may have to make it a little more flush, indent it so that it'll set in there deeper. Each door is a little different, and my house is really bad. Everything is not square, everything is as cheap as can be, so I'm always having to alter things anytime I change something. If you have a nice quality build, sometimes things go a little smoother. Testing it out here at the end, and it looks like it's working all right.